Hey, it's Brock here from Rock Hill Farms, and we're going on to day 3 of hay cutting. Really, it would be possible to cut every bit of this in a day. This is a 40-acre property, and I'm guessing about 30 acres of it can be mowed, maybe 25. I haven't done any measurements. But you could mow all that in a day, but I've had a lot of things stopping me. First was, the first day I came out to mow, I had to do some work on this hay cutter. It's an old cutter. I have my own cutter that's been ordered. It's going to be here this year, but it wasn't here in time for this hay cutting. So I've borrowed this cutter, had to do a little bit of work on it, and even now, it doesn't have the curtain that goes around it to prevent things from being thrown at you. I tried making a tarp. That lasted for one field. On the second field, that got sucked into the blades and torn up. I'm not going to do it again. I'm not going to invest that time. I need to get this hay cut instead of messing with this. So I've done 2 fields. I've really got, depending on how you think about it, I'm on my 3rd field now. I've got at least one more big one to do. Now my goal is to work this entire property down where it's more open fields. Right now there's too many areas that might have debris in them or need cleaned up a little bit before they can be part of the hay production area. I'm going to put the drone in the air, show you this whole property before the end of the video if I can get my drone to work. But right now, I need to just stop talking and get out and cut some hay. Just a real quick idea of what I have already done. Field number 1 is between the house and the roads, probably 10 acres. Field number 2 is between the pond and the road. That's probably 5 acres. And I'm halfway through field number 3, which goes back. It starts at the Quonset hut and the woodshed and goes back to the back corner of the property. This is probably 7 acres. Those are just guesses. So if you watched my last video on cutting hay, you'll notice that I'm already using a completely different mowing pattern. And that's just the nature of learning how to do things. And if I continue cutting my own hay, which I intend to do for years to come, I will probably continually change different patterns and try different patterns and try to find the most efficient way to get the work done. And I think, that's just probably what we all do. But in this case, what I'm learning is that rounding off these corners is a huge time drain. And it seems like it's faster. I was setting my speed at a high rate of travel and not ever slowing down and just making big round corners. And I thought, man, I'm going fast. But I'm missing so many areas on the corners that if I go back and get those areas, it takes a lot of time. And if I don't go back and get those areas, it wastes a lot of hay. So where I'm at right now is that the most efficient way for me to do this is making cloverleaf turns at the corners while my mowing area is large. Once the mowing area is small, just loop from one side to the other. Mow down the left side, mow down the right side, and don't try to cut the ends. Let me know what you guys do. So now you're getting a look at the property from above that you might not have ever seen, even if you're a regular viewer of the channel. What you see right now from my neighbor's property, everything that has been in the camera shot to this point, is a 40-acre property that the previous owner had cattle farming on. And right before we found this property is available, they sold the other 20 acres to somebody else. So we only have 20 acres that is split about where the drone is flying right now. And then of course we've got the house and the shop and some wooded area. So on the 20 acres that we own, there is about maybe 12 to 15 of it that is farmable, and the other 5 to 7 is living area. You've also got some messes that I've got to clean up from projects that I'm in the middle of, and obviously none of those areas can be used for hay. But the area just up the screen to the left from the woodshed could be turned into hay area. The area that's at the end of the screen right now is what I was calling our swamp, and that could be turned into hay area. This area that you're seeing right here is an area where I've done a lot of project videos, including salting the stump and burning the stump. Now we're back into my neighbor's property, and I have a new neighbor who's planning to eventually build on this side, and he's an awesome guy, and it's a beautiful stretch of property. I just really wish I would have got the opportunity or had the resources to buy the other side. So there is your basic property tour. This that you're seeing right now is field number 5, but we've still got to mow field number 4. This area is what I'm trying to convert into hayfield. This has not been cut for hay since I've been here. There were a bunch of trees, there were rocks, there was debris, there were piles of brush, and I've cleaned most of it up. But I'm not sure if it's cleared enough to run the hay rake. I think I'm going to do about half of this right now. The other half of it might have to wait, and I might have to cut this with the brush hog this year, or this cutting, and then make sure it's completely cleared and ready, and that this will be in the next hay cutting after I've done fertilization and all of that. Anyway, let's get to cutting. Ran into a couple problems here. One, this pipe frame on this old cutter just broke. Just from the bouncing, I guess, because it's not like I hit anything, and it broke out in the middle of a joint. And I've already not been able to keep a curtain around it. I'm only mowing with it once. I apologize, Jake, that I've just broke this. I think it can be welded back up. I got a welder up there. And I didn't blow out the radiator at all after mowing this other field, and the temperatures quickly went up from 90 Celsius to 104 Celsius. About 109 Celsius, the buzzer goes off. So I'm gonna go take this rail off that's not doing anything, blow out my radiator. I think I'll put the drone in the air and we'll get some shots of the whole property. Someone asked me the other day why I didn't get a drone to improve my footage on these videos, and I thought, man, I really need to do that. But it can be a major time drain trying to record with a drone. When I got it out, it took me a little while to get everything charged up, and then it didn't want to connect to my phone. And then I had to do a firmware update, and then a location services update. And I messed with it for about an hour. Then I flew it around the property, put it over here, and as you'll see right here, the battery went dead. And it returned to home after I filmed one little clip. Here you see me going from field number 4 to field number 5. And the area in between could once again be hay ground, but you can also see rocks protruding up out of the ground. and trees, and some of those denser, darker green areas are places where the previous owner piled logs and brush piles up for animal habitat, which is perfectly fine. And the new neighbor is a hunter, and he may want all those habitat areas there. So I'm not going to disturb them unless he wants me to. On my side of the property, I cleared all of those brush piles out so that I could make all of this into better hay ground. The problem with an area like this is it makes a very unusual shape. As you see me wrapping around this tree here, I'm going to trail off into some areas where the drone can't see it. Now this is great for wildlife habitat, as you see all these trees and the debris and the different things out here, and see how that cutter's working after I removed the bar. But my problem with it is that I don't hunt, and you have to kind of go in here and maintain this, or it'll get so overgrown that the wildlife can hardly even get through it. So you're either burning this off, which we have already tried to do and had trouble getting it to burn because it was too green, or you're bringing your brush cutter back here and you're clearing in between all this debris, and you need to keep it under control enough that you can see it and you don't get any of those logs and limbs wrapped up in your brush cutter and do some damage. But my biggest problem mowing back here, which I'm glad to mow back here, I asked him to let me mow this just because I wanted to do it. But my problem with doing it is that it makes an irregular shape, which is fine for mowing. You can mow in any shape. But when it comes to raking and baling, you need some kind of a free-flowing or continuous pattern for raking up that hay. And that's something just like I was talking about with the mowing patterns that I will have to learn as I go. Now I'm back down in the area where I started the drone out, and if you can see, these two fields are separated by a fence that used to serve a purpose when the previous owner had cattle. And even though I hope to in the future have cows and horses and chickens and everything on this property, I'm easing my way into it and learning one thing at a time. Learn hay before getting cows, for example. So with this being the neighbor's property and him having the same mindset I do, I think this fence is coming down soon. Cutting this hay and messing with the rake and the baler a little bit, I'm not as intimidated as I originally was about my ability to do a good job of producing a usable hay. I still have a lot to learn, and I haven't even baled my own yet, but I'm going to try fertilizing this fall and then again in the spring with the guidance from our local co-op, and just continue to learn and improve what I can get done myself. The biggest learning curve here is not so much the equipment. It was the biggest surprise, I guess I would say, is how long it took. Because just cutting this, I added 18 hours to the hour meter on the tractor. And that has to be repeated for raking and for baling and possibly for tedding. Now, if you're a farmer, it's no big deal saying this is going to be 60 hours of mowing and raking and baling, but it's just more than I expected. Tell you what, I really underestimated how long it would take to mow all of this. And there's a lot of work left to do to get more of it to be mowable. But it was a good feeling to add a skill to the list of things I'm capable of doing. And not that there's anything that difficult or complicated, I guess, about, cutting hay, but I love to learn new things, and this is something new I've learned. And over the next couple days, I'll be raking and baling this hay. I appreciate you taking time to watch the video. I'll put links on the screen to a couple more of our videos, and I'll see you next time.